Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Producer's Corner. My name is Randy Younger, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to get a record deal. I know a lot of you are wondering how to go about doing that. What is a record deal? And so let's just dive right in. You don't get a record deal. You're not getting a record deal. Most people on this planet are not getting a record deal. Okay, and I'm going to tell you why. Now, let me just tell you right now. If that made you angry and you're going to stomp your feet and you don't want to hear what I have to say about what you can do, then don't listen and unsubscribe and do all of that. But I want to level set reality here for all of the people who listen to my channel, because I want you to be able to balance your expectations with reality. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, so you don't get a record deal, but what is a record deal anyway? First of all, it's a loan. A record deal, if you go get a record deal with a major label, or any label for that matter, it's a loan against future sales. So guess what? It's not this magical thing where piles of money just automatically drop into your lap because you can sing or play. It's a loan against future sales. And when they gave cash advances, if they're signing advances anymore, which they're not often, out there anymore, those were also a loan against future sales. You had to, before you ever even earned another penny after that advance had to be paid off, plus everything else about the record process, including making the record, the production costs, the distribution costs, the promotion costs, and everything else. All of those get paid off, including your cash advance, before you ever see another dime. And the only exception to that is if you're a writer, you get a mandated compulsory rate based on the mechanical royalties that was edicted by Congress. But that's just a teeny tiny portion of the overall sale. I mean, compulsories on a mechanical royalty are 9.1 cents per recording. So there's not a lot there to really draw from. Anyway, another thing a record deal is a transfer of control and ownership of your music and what you've created to the label. They get to productize it, they get ownership of it, and you get a royalty or some small percentage of earnings off of it once, of course, you've paid back them for making that record. And they also so you're transferring the ownership of that, and they get control of the content and the creative process. So if they want you to sing Mary Had a Little Lamb in 10 different keys and release an album with 10 songs like that, that's what you're going to do. That's what they have in terms of power over your creative ability. Also, they can own you forever. If you sign a bad deal, they can own you forever, and then they can put you on the shelf. They can put you in an 10 option deal and never pick up a single option, or even a 1 option deal and never pick up, never fully exercise maybe a 2 option deal. They would have to exercise the first option, but not the second one. And if there's no time clock on it. And so, you would never go into a record deal negotiation without an attorney, and they're going to say things that are going to scare you because you don't want to push the label away. But if they're a good attorney, they're going to try to protect you. Most artists won't protect themselves. They just see the thing and they want it. It's the brass ring, or they think it is. It is a path to radio, and it's really the only path to radio if you're going to be on a major label. Independent pluggers are not really going to get you to radio. There are some fluky things that might happen. Like you may get a song that gets picked up for a movie through synchronization, or film, or TV through sync, and it becomes quirky and popular. And so you might get a single deal, and then you'll get a path to radio that way. But for the most part, the majors control the path to radio, assuming radio is what you even want anymore. Of course, it is about distribution of your media, whether that's physical media in terms of CDs, or digital downloads, streams, and those sorts of things. Those all come through the label. And then, of course, they promote the product. And the product is what you created. It isn't you. You may think of yourself as the product, but you're not the product. It's the song. So, just because a song got created doesn't mean they care about you. They do care about the song being successful, but once you've recorded it, their care about you may wane forever, in fact. Now, I'm not trying to diss the entire recording industry. It serves a function, and it certainly served a major function in developing iconic music that we've listened to over the last half century. But it is a very changing, dynamic world that we live in the music business. And it certainly, changed to the point where even fewer people have chances going the traditional route. I can tell you what the record business is not a guarantee to success. It is not a path to riches or being set for life. It is not an ability for you to express your art in your specific way, because they're going to control how it goes, and they're going to control what you even sing. You may have written a whole album's worth of material or more, and they may say, no, you're going to sing this, 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 and this. And that'll be very frustrating, but it is going to happen, and it will happen not in the way that you think. And it is not what you hope or expect in almost every single way. Unless, of course, you've had exposure to it, or you've been through this reality check before and you're past that. Okay, you understand all of this, and you want to still make it anyway. One of the things that the record business was for, let's go back. How did you get a record deal when it was even possible? Well, you had to be in the right place at the right time. You had to play in front of the A&R people and hope that they came out to your late night shows in West Hollywood on a Wednesday night where you had to pay to even play. Or you bump into somebody and it's pure chance. You just bump into them, you strike up a conversation, and then something happens. Magical. There's a lot of stories like that. But primarily it's through relationships. It's, your uncle was a record exec. Your parent was already famous, so you're sort of, following in their legacy. Your friend's dad happened to be a major record producer. Or you studied with, somebody like Don Felder, Tom Petty did, who was, Don Felder was one of the Eagles guitar players. So, but it is through relationships. And I will tell you, everything that I've ever done in music has been success, has been through relationships. I've been recording since I was 12. I did my first studio session when I was 12 years old, playing drums in a studio. And then I had a lot of different things, TV and radio, that happened in my teen and early 20s. Was on a record label, did have a record deal with a band that I was in. And that came about through a lot of persistence. I mean, we really worked hard. So persistence is as important as these other things, but I will tell you the number one way is relationships. Every Grammy level artist that I've worked with came through a relationship. And every opportunity, film scoring, relationship. Every opportunity to do anything of significance that I can look back on came through knowing someone who knew somebody who made the introduction, and then I had to meet the minimum requirements, which means you have to be excellent at whatever it is that you do. That's the starting requirement. That's not the ending requirement. That's the first thing. You've got to be great at whatever it is that you do, whether it's playing or production or singing or whatever it is. You have to be great, because as soon as they find out that you're not, you are gone, relationship or not. Okay. You had to be persistent. You had to become a stalker sometimes. I mean, I'm not advocating this behavior, but there were people who did that. They just would lay tapes down on the doorstep of a producer every morning, and they would continue to do that every day until the producer finally said, okay, fine, I'm going to listen. And then maybe they would get a chance to talk. Okay. Or unmentionable behavior. Obviously, Harvey Weinstein and others in the entertainment business have done a lot of horrifying things to give people their breaks in the business. And it's awful, but there are many people who didn't know that was going to happen that got to that point and they had to make that decision and they said, okay. And that's really sad, but that was the path that some people took. Other people unashamedly took that path and they said, yeah, I'm going to sleep my way to the top, whatever it takes. And that's sad and sick, and I'm sorry for that kind of behavior. It really breaks my heart. But you had to be persistent. You had to stick with it, and you could never, ever, ever give up. My dad used to have a saying that he really instilled in me, and he said, we are keep on triers. We are not giver uppers. And that has stuck with me my whole life. You can never get anywhere giving up at any point in the game. You always have to be persistent. Okay, so even if you get a record deal, then what? It's got to get out there. People got to hear it. It's got to be marketed. And the number one thing used to be radio. But sadly, video didn't kill the radio star, but Napster did. File sharing, peer-to-peer file sharing, giving music away free. Really, MP3s and Napster killed the music industry as far as being a viable means for having intrinsic value. Music doesn't have any intrinsic value anymore. Most people pay for a service, or they don't even pay. They'll listen to the commercials, or they'll find a hack around it on their streaming service, Pandora, Spotify, whatever it is, Apple Music. And, there's the mentality of, why should I pay for something I can get for free? And that's what's happened. Brick and mortar CDs, physical media, it's kind of a dead medium for really being viable, for being able to support musicians financially. Cracker Barrel, just to give an example, one of the largest brick and mortar establishments for selling physical media anymore is Cracker Barrel. And if you walk in there and look at the demographic of Cracker Barrel, you'll understand that is not a thriving medium. And in fact, I'll challenge you, when was the last time you ever bought a CD or even paid for a digital download? Maybe some of you do, and bravo to you, but most people aren't doing that. They'll pay for a service that they can listen to anything they want, anytime they want. And streaming was supposed to be the answer for the music industry and for the individual artist. And it sounds like a great solution, but in reality, it's a tough pill to swallow. Just to give you an example, you need 10,000 streams per day on Spotify every day, 365 days a year, to make a minimum wage full-time salary. Okay, and that's assuming you own all the rights to your music, it's already paid for, and you don't have to share it with anyone else. Now, if you are selling downloads, you're only going to get 63 cents per download on the 99 cents, because that's the revenue split between you and iTunes and Amazon and all those. They get 30% of everything right off the top. But just to compare it, you also need to stream a song 131 times in order for it to even equal what you could net earn on one digital download sale, assuming you can sell it. And, again, take into consideration how much did it cost you to make it. And then even if it is for sale, you still have to promote it. That costs something, whether it's sweat equity, time, or actual money to pay a service to market that for you. I can guarantee you could easily spend your 10,000 plays per day on Spotify just to earn 10,000 plays per day on Spotify. So that's a really tough place to be. And I will tell you, Spotify, by the way, is much more powerful in many ways than a lot of the labels. They used to wield all the power in the industry, but they are now looking to Spotify. And I went to a big industry meeting a few months ago in Nashville where there were 11 industry A&R executives and one guy from Spotify. And through that meeting, it was crystal clear that Spotify had all the power in the room. All those labels wanted to get on that guy's curated million and 2 million follower playlists with their songs. And so the industry has really flip-flopped. So you may even try for a record deal that they can't even get distribution on, whether it's streaming or, radio play. Okay. So radio, let's talk about radio. Radio is dead to me. Radio, you're dead to me. Why? Because radio used to be owned by family groups, kind of like the phone companies. Phone companies had 10 or 12, micro companies, and they would service their market. And, they could individually service those. Well, in the radio business, it used to be that they were these small companies. They may have 10, 20, 30 radio stations, and they would set the marketing, they would set the playlists for those markets. They would choose those, and radio pluggers would come in and say, hey, I've got the song, would you spin it? And it was a very kind of cottage industry sort of thing. And then along came bigger companies, Cumulus, Clear Channel, iHeartMedia, and they began to buy up all of these smaller radio family stations and syndicate them, put them into syndication, and go into automated playlists. So a playlist that plays on one station in an area actually plays on every FM station of that genre in the area, or you drive from one area to the next and you keep hearing the same music because it's iHeartMedia that owns it, pretty much, in the music world. Cumulus owns a lot of the talk radio and things like that, but, there's really one-stop shop. So, and the playlists that are curated for iHeartMedia are the top of the top of the top of the top. You're not getting in there. You're not going to get on iHeartMedia. It's not going to happen. Sony and Warner and Capitol and all of those are going to get those slots. You're not getting them. Taylor Swift, Selena Gomez, Justin Bieber, all of those people that are crafted and manufactured by the labels are getting those slots. And that's all. Let's see. And radio, I said radio is breaking new talent. Radio is not breaking new talent. Radio used to break new talent. Radio doesn't break new talent because the labels are not going to risk it. There's so few slots. They're going to try to promote the artists that they have the highest probability of getting sales with, whether that's streaming or even downloads where those might exist. But more than anything, they want to push listeners to mega concerts, the arena concerts, the big venues, and those kinds of things, because that's where the money is now. But Spotify, YouTube, Pandora, and playlists, that's where artists are being discovered and being broken. And the influencers have now gone away from the radio stations and the big DJs to these people who created and curated playlists. Okay, with that being the landscape that we're up against now, what do we do? First of all, we have to balance our expectation with reality. You're not getting on the radio. You can get on indie radio, but you're not getting on syndicated radio. I have an artist that I'm working with right now, and she's on over 70 independent stations worldwide. She's in rotation on all kinds of stations, and just a couple of weeks ago, went into rotation on a station in Brazil that has a reach of 3 million people. But it's a one-off station. It's not syndicated. They're a Brazilian, it's not even FM, it's AM. But she's there. She's getting heard by 3 million people in rotation on that station in Brazil, even though she doesn't, I don't think she speaks Spanish. Maybe she does. I don't think so. Anyway, she's on a really small station in Tramore, Ireland, on the southern coast of Ireland. They probably have 2,000 residents. I don't even know. If you're from Tramore and I got your population wrong, I apologize. But it isn't a lot, whatever it is. But she's in rotation there. And that's an independent station. But that all came through social. None of it came through this stuff. That came through Twitter and Instagram. Okay. All right. So I want to go back to the record thing and the radio play, and let's talk about this. Billboard, which has the charts that we all say, who's the top 10? That's Billboard, and they set the charts, and there's 200 slots weekly for artists to be in. There's 100, so that makes 10,400 slots per year. All slots, all in. or 200,800 slots over a 20-year span of time. And there are 7.6 billion people in the world. And let's just assume they were all vying for one of those slots. If that were the case, someone would have a 1 in 38,000 chance of if it were just a roll of the dice, getting one of those slots. We know it's not a roll of the dice, but if they were, you'd have a 1 in 38,000 chance that you might get one of those slots, like the 200th slot, 1 week out of a 20-year period. You can't make a living off of that. So even if you could get radio on a syndicated, you could get charted on Billboard, it's extremely rarefied air. Okay, and for hitting one of those slots, if you're just random one of the population on planet Earth, you have a 1 in 730,000 chance to get one of those slots within a year's period of time. And if you want to be in the top 10, it's a 1 in 14 million chance for one of those slots, one of the top 10 slots over a 52-week period. If it were only random, but it isn't. Those slots are going to Selena Gomez, Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber, you name it. Those people, they're getting those slots, not you. We're not getting them. Okay, not any of my artists. They're not getting them. Okay. Even most voice and idol artists aren't charting. Most. Some do. Few do. Okay? There are more that aren't than are. Okay? And if they've been on that and they even won and they're not, chances are you're not going to either. Okay, so if that's not going to happen, if it's not a possibility, now what? Okay? You don't just go jump off a cliff. You try to level set and balance your expectation with reality. First, why are you doing this in the first place? If you want to become rich and famous, forget it. It's not happening. You really have a better chance playing the lottery every single day of your life than you ever have making it doing this, okay? So if that's your reason, forget it. If it's because you have a passion for expressing yourself musically, then you can be satisfied and fueled by the process. It can be rewarding for you, okay? But at least it gives you a reason that is aligned with truth and reality. You do it because you love it. You don't do it because you think anything is going to happen from it, okay? And just because you love it doesn't mean you don't suck. You may be awful. You may be horrible. And nobody may like you hearing you. Maybe friends and family will tolerate you, but it is highly conceivable that you do suck. But you have to be willing to determine whether or not you suck and then accept that truth. Or if you don't even want to accept that truth, that's fine. But don't expect to get a big audience, and certainly forget about radio and making records. Okay? Well, unless you're going to pay for them yourself. You can vanity make a record. You can go save up your money and go to Nashville and make a record with some of the greatest pickers available. But that's not what we're talking about. Okay. So if you're passion driven rather than expectation driven, there's good news for you. So is there a way to make a living doing this? Yes. There are many ways to make a living. I'm just going to go very quickly through all of them. The number one way to make music, and I don't care who you are, whether you're on a label or not, is concerts, gigging, and merchandise. These are the number one because people pay for tickets and they pay for merchandise at concerts. On some tickets, $500 a seat. I mean, that's where money is. I can't even calculate how many streams $500 equals, but it's a lot of streams, and that's for one seat. So gigging and merch. Now you're not Taylor Swift, okay? So let's look at reality. Keep your band small. If you're going to do this and you want to make a living at it, if you want to make a living doing this, you have to have a small, tight band. The smaller, the better, because there are fewer mouths to feed and fewer fragile egos, because it's going to come down to egos at the end of the day. Every band breaks up because of an ego reason. You need a vehicle, and it needs to be reliable, okay? Because you're going to play everywhere you can possibly play, 200 to 250 days a year. You're going to play retirement homes. You're going to play on the street. You're going to play in bars. You're going to play in honky tonks. You're going to play in junior high schools. You're going to play at colleges. You're going to play everywhere there is to play. And you're going to have to make some money doing it. And so if that's the case, you're going to average maybe $100, $200 a day in receipts from ticket sales, or if you play restaurants and bars and things like that. You're not going to make a lot of money doing it. You're going to probably net out $75 a player if you keep it relatively small. That's only $10,000 or $15,000 a year, which is a minimum wage earning. Okay, so if you're willing to do that, okay, you could do it. You need to plan on playing a lot of cover songs, because these bars and restaurants, they don't want to hear your individual music, your originals. They want to hear, Pat Benatar, Hit Me With Your Best Shot. They don't want to hear, or the latest, Taylor Swift single or whatever. They don't want to hear your stuff. They'll tolerate you putting in a song or two here or there, but for the most part, they're not going to want to hear your stuff. Okay? Forget about your long-term relationships unless your bandmate happens to be that person. But forget about starting a family, because it's completely impractical. Make sure you're prepared to live on a shoestring, possibly sleeping in that vehicle that's reliable many, many times out of the year. Hey, drive Uber and Lyft when you're not doing music. Do things. Look, I know of a group in Nashville. They both drive Uber and Lyft every single day of their life, and they're playing some great venues in Nashville. I mean, some big. They're getting on TV all the time, and they drive every day. Busk in the afternoon. If you go into a town, make sure it's legal. Do some busking to do two things: one, promote your show; two, make money right then. Make your own CDs. Burn your own CDs. Don't be on a label. Don't be into anyone else. Be your own label. Take them everywhere. Sell them when you're busking. Sell them at your shows. You can make, you'll probably make as much or more on your CDs potentially than you will from what you're going to earn at the venues or the bars and the restaurants and whatever that is. Make high margin items. T-shirts, they're great. You can make a t-shirt for a couple bucks, sell it for $15 or maybe $3, sell it for $15, make $12. And if you get a really great fan base that comes out, they're going to want your shirt. It's always the shirt. They want the shirt. Build an online store for all that stuff, so you can always be selling it as you're working on your social, as you build fans and super fans. If you build super fans, they want your stuff. And if they want your stuff and it's high margin, you can make good money off of it. But definitely own the rights to all of your stuff. I will tell you that even the majors are making more money off of the big concert tours than they're making off of record sales. The other thing is, don't go out at all. Don't tour at all. Do it all at home. Do it on your own time. Do it in a virtual world. Put out YouTube videos, put out music, put out a lot of content. Follow this Leah McHenry girl who has a program. I don't know, it costs money. I think it's like $300 for her program, but she'll teach you. She'll teach you step by step how to make a viable living. She makes her living off of two things. One, selling her program. Two, selling her music online, and she never tours. She's never been out on tour, okay? Build your online presence, but be willing to spend the time. And I mean every day a week, 7 days a week, 4 to 8 hours every single day, working Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, you name it. Every social outlet that you have an opportunity to work, you got to be out there doing it. If you're not, because you can't afford to pay someone to do it. And if you're not doing it, it's not going to happen. Okay. Make sure that you engage with your fans when you get them online. And don't make it about you. Be interested in them. Don't just be about you. Don't say me. Say, hey, what's up with you today? Engage with them. Talk with them. Become friends with them so that they'll love you and become a one-to-many point. That's how viral things happen. You want super fans who can go and not just represent one person. They can represent 50 people or 30 people or 10 people. Definitely what's called a one-to-many relationship. but don't make it all about you. They don't want to hear about you. They really want to hear what you think about them, okay? And eventually they'll want to hear more and more about you, and they'll get excited about that, but you just can't make it all about you. Go to Patreon, get on services where people are willing to support you on a monthly basis. $5 a month, say, if you've really got it and they believe in you, it's kind of like the PBS, the public broadcasting system. You're going to go out and find patrons to say, yeah, we support your art. We support you as a musician. We believe in you. And they're just going to pay $5 a month with no other expectation than to support you. Content is king. You need to always be creating content. Every day, you got to put out content every single day. And don't just make content and then hope people are going to find it. That's impossible. How many people have you seen their YouTube channel? Look, mine, I only have, 20, 30 views on some of these videos. And I'm not in the process. I'm trying to just put it out there for you guys. I'm not trying to build this channel. I'm just trying to leave something for my son, who is a musician. I'm trying to leave that for him for posterity. I'm trying to help people along the way. So I'm not even trying to build up my channel, but I'm applying some of these principles just to get it out there a little bit better. But you need to be really engaging with people on a daily basis and spending hours and hours a day doing it, because no one's finding this. They're not just going to randomly search it and boom, you pop up in the top of the list. It's not going to happen. In Leah McHenry's program, she says you become super niche-y. And I say you either become super niche-y or you become crazy good in a broad genre. And, but that's fewer, there are fewer and fewer crazy good people. Every once in a while, a few of them pop up and you can't help it because they're a prodigy. And they just become viral because they're so insanely good that they're a prodigy. And she says that, you can find your niche. She does like Celtic fantasy metal or some crazy thing. And that's her niche. And she's pretty and she posts a lot of pictures of herself and, with these flowing fantasy backgrounds and stuff. And so she has the Dungeons and Dragons guys that just think she's great. And that's her audience. And she doesn't have a huge following, but they follow her. And they even pay an annual fee to follow her. Now, I think that's a very interesting idea. And she's making multiple six-figure income a year doing that and selling her program. I want to tell you to be an individual. Be an individual. Stop singing like everyone else, please. The words like just, like, world, come on. I'm sorry, I know this is going to make a lot of you angry that are singing in this kind of hipster speech, but it is going to become so dated, it won't be timeless. It won't stand the test of time, and it's going to be this little blip, and you'll look back on it and go, oh, what did I do? Okay? And it's not you. Find your voice. Don't find someone else's voice and put it in your voice box. It's so irritating. When I go on social and I look at singers, and I see singer after singer after singer singing in their bedroom, it's the same thing. I don't like the world, and I'm so sad. They're creating up new words and diphthongs that don't exist. And I'm going to tell you something. As a producer, this is very important. If it doesn't sound right, if you can't speak it the way you sing it and have people not look at you like you're crazy, then it's gimmicky and it's dated and it won't be timeless. Okay? And that goes a lot for how you place your syllables and a lot of things, okay? But I'm begging you, and a lot of you are just shutting me off right now and they're saying, that's it. He just really made me angry. I'm begging you, find your voice. Stop singing like the other people, okay? We don't need them. And the people who already made it that you think you're going to be like, they already made it and it's saturated already. So I'm not saying you have to be super niche-y, but you have to be you. At least be you. Stop trying to be somebody else. Okay. Record high quality music. Obviously, organic music can make it. I've heard, there have been some home recorded, bedroom, iPhone recorded music that has gone viral, but it's really rare. Odds are you're not going to make it that way. And if they did go viral, it's because the player was a freak, a phenom. Okay? Record quality music for release. That means either learn how to do it yourself, budget to have it done by a professional. And when you go to record music, record more than one 4-song EP, okay? Because the more product you have for sale, the more sales opportunities you have. If you have one single and you're going out there supporting, doing the TV shows and doing the festivals and doing all these, you got one song recorded, good grief. You've shot yourself in the foot before you even got started. So go out there and produce content. Content is king. Continue to produce content, whether it's YouTube or songs or whatever it is, okay? If you can't afford to do this, go see if the crowd will help you. If they won't help you, then they don't believe you. They don't believe in you. And if they don't, maybe there's a reason, okay? Maybe this isn't your thing. Maybe you should be doing something else. Okay, and then you need to get your own digital distribution account, like on CD Baby or TuneCore or even Landr, LANDR.com. You need to be able to release that music. You're going to be your own label. So you're going to get the largest cut of whatever you create. And you need to be able to get that out to those marketplaces. But let me say this. That doesn't mean anything. You could be on iTunes and have zero. You could have zero sales. You might buy it out of pity for yourself. But just because it's on iTunes doesn't mean anyone's going to buy it. You got to do all these other things to market it. Okay? It's a lot of hard work and a lot of sweat, guys. Now, if you really have a passion for music, there are some more rudimentary, traditional ways you can make money doing it. You can teach, which means you really have to become educated in music yourself, whether that's through going to school and earning a degree, which is the most viable way if you want to become a teacher, or you have to be the best in your area. You become some shredder guitar god, and all the local wannabe shredder guitar gods, they're going to come to you and pay you money. And that does work. As a guitar teacher, you can make $50 an hour easily. So you can live already many times better than the minimum wage earner just by being a guitar teacher, which you can then use to fund promotions or making records or all these other things. So you can go out and teach and then use that to fund your musical career. And if you are going to teach, be willing to travel. Be willing to go into their home and teach. If you're willing to go into homes and teach, and you can find, say, a middle class or an upper middle class neighborhood, and you can develop a reputation there, you can do, 5 homes in a day. You can do 10 homes in a day. And you're also going to work odd hours. You're going to work late afternoon into the early evening. Become a studio musician. This is for rarefied air. There are not many people that are going to get that opportunity, but the ones who do usually intern, and it's a relationship kind of thing. But if you get a slot making scale, you can make a really good living as a union scale studio musician. Sell your parts and tracks to other musicians that need them. In other words, they need a ripping guitar lead. Fine. You say, I'll charge you $50 for my ripping guitar lead. You go do it in your home studio. You email it to them. Do a PayPal transaction. You've made $50, maybe for 20 minutes worth of work. Collaborate with, by the way, many of my friends now have their own studios and do drum parts. I'm not going to mention names, but I have one friend in particular. All he does all day long is, for major records, for platinum #1 records, he records his drum parts at home and he just sends them via WeTransfer or Dropbox. And that's it. That's all he does. Unless he is going to go out and gig live with other people. Collaborate with other excellent musicians. Find people online. They can write, melodies and do chords, and you can lay down drums and bass and keys, collaborate with those people, create music that you can share in collectively, split those royalties, market them together, double your marketing power, and then create a larger audience that way. Create your own marketplace. I know a lot of people who are come online and they say, hey, buy my beats. Okay? You can do that. A lot of people in the EDM, hip hop world, they do that every day. They're making a good living doing it. Try to get in film and TV, get sync licensing. That's a tougher thing, but it is doable. I encourage you to look up Peter Bradley Adams. The guy is amazing, and his music has been in so many TV shows and films. Write songs for others. Songwriting is a very difficult way to make money. I know several Hall of Famers. I have a good friend who wrote the most played song in any genre for a 1 decade period of time on the radio, and he lives in a houseboat on the river up in Nashville. Okay? He's not killing it. This is the most played song on the radio for an entire 10-year period. He lives in a houseboat. Now, he's living his dream. That's all he needs. But he doesn't live in one of these palatial mansions with the wrought iron gates, with the guitar shapes and boots and all that stuff out in front of their 50-acre plantation. No, he lives in a houseboat on the river. Okay. Let's see. Become a producer or a recording engineer. Not a lot of people have the full skill set to be able to do these things. And if you can do it, you can enable other people who are wanting to make a career out of music, but that don't feel a calling to become their own producer. They already have to become their own label, their own marketing team, their own gigging team and road crew and all these other things. But now they also have to be a producer. You can make a good living being a producer for people who want to make music. Okay, so now that the down stuff is over, now that the Debbie Downer stuff is over, I'm going to encourage you. You can do this. You can do it. But what it is what we're talking about. You can fuel and feed your passion in one way or another. You have the opportunity to do that as long as you balance your expectations with reality. If you're willing to do that, you can have a lifelong opportunity of being rewarded by creating music for other people. But you're going to have to be able to accept criticism. You're going to have to be able to be willing to grow. If somebody says, look, especially if you come, I get this a lot. People come to me and they say, what do you think of my song? What do you think of my vocal? What do you think of my drum part? What do you think of this, that, fill in the blank. And if it isn't any good and I lie to you, I've done you a disservice. Okay? And usually I am going to give you the good and the bad, but I'll never give you the bad without giving you a way to fix it. Okay? Criticism should be constructive. It's not to tear you down, but if you can't hear it without being offended, without having your feelings hurt, then you need to get into a different space. You need to be able to go, what is the validity of what's being criticized? Now, there are people who are going to criticize you that don't know jack. They don't know anything. And you have to be able to filter through criticism. But I'm telling you, if you get valid criticism from someone qualified to give it to you and you're not willing to accept it, don't do this. Your life will be a miserable one. It will be miserable. Okay. Find ways to fund your passion. Get a job. Get a real job. Go get a college degree. I'll tell you a quick story. A kid of mine who is a mentor, who I was his mentor about 10 years ago, and he was really killing it. Life was good for him. His social was exploding. It was in the MySpace days. We were doing a lot of, decent sized shows, making good money at the concerts, selling records, doing everything. He was a very talented intellectual guy, and he went on a full academic scholarship to University of North Alabama, and for computer science. And about halfway through, he said, I'm done. I want to go. I'm leaving school. I'm going to Nashville. I'm going to pursue my career. And I said, if you stop, I'm never going to work with you again. If you don't earn that degree. You're halfway through. And if you stop right now to go to pursue your dream in Nashville, I will never work with you again. And he looked at me and said, why? Now it's time. If I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And I said, no, because you have an opportunity to be able to fuel your passion for the rest of your life with a good income, a solid income. And you're going to have more money to buy great equipment and build a great home studio and do this on your own time than you will if you try to go struggle and compete with everybody up there in Nashville and you don't have anything to fall back on. He finished his degree. He worked for 2 years here in town in North Alabama as a computer programmer, making great money. And after 2 years, then I told him out of the blue, I said, okay, it's time. Go to Nashville. Leave everything here, go to Nashville. And he did. And he is now working as a consultant, programming whenever he wants to. And he's producing young artists and writing great music and getting session experience. And he's playing in sessions. I've had him on major label cuts. He's an excellent producer. He thought he was going to be a front man. He's a great producer. He can play keyboards, drums, guitar, write, sing, everything. He's a one-stop shop. He's going to make it. He is making it. He's making money doing it now in Nashville. And guess what? He's also paying his rent and paying his car payment and his phone payment and building his studio as he goes. So I'm very proud of him. I'm very proud that I was part of that in his life. Okay. Participate in other aspects of the business. You don't have to be like this young man. He is a producer now. He is a recording engineer. He's tuning vocals. He's, mixing tracks. This is what he does on a daily basis now, along with his programming. So he's not the front guy. So he's not the singer. So what? He is feeding his passion and doing what he was called to do. And he's amazing at it, by the way. Intern at a studio, intern at a label, intern at a publishing company. Learn what they're doing, okay? Usually those slots go to students, so go to school. Get a grant, get a loan, go to school. Go intern, okay? Become a roadie. Become a roadie. You could be a killer player, become a roadie, and you get to hang out with those guys. And every once in a while, you're going to be tuning their guitar and you're going to do a riff or something. And they're going to go, what? And you're going to build a relationship based on that work that you've done. Work in some sales aspect of the industry. Sell ads for radio stations. Okay? Go become a 3 a.m. television camera operator at your local news station. Okay? Do things that put you close to the business that you want to be in. You have to become a social media guru and you have to work it for hours a day. And you need to learn how to define your metrics. What are the things that you're going to measure your performance by? Is it followers? Is it downloads? Is it streams? And you have to track those things. And you have to find out what are the things that I'm doing that are elevating those metrics. And you have to stay on it. And you have to be diligent. And you can never give up. You have to be a keep on trier and not a giver upper. Okay? And be able to extrapolate the future, say, if I continue to go at this rate, I'll be at this point in time. And prepare for a grueling and lifelong journey. And it is going to be filled with lingering disappointments and unimaginable momentary high points. And they're few and far between, but they will stick with you as memories throughout your life. And you will have amazing stories to tell your children and your grandchildren. And I'm going to tell you something about life. Life is the sum of the stories of you. Your life is the sum, the total of the stories that are inside of you. Because at any one moment, when you're looking back at your life, it's all going to be memories. Okay? And you want to be building those. You want to have those epic moments where this happened, okay? And so it is worth it when that happens. When you have those great moments, those epic moments, it's worth it, okay? But that's not why you should do it. That'll just be a side effect. You need to do it because you have to do it. You have to do it. You love it. You can't not do it. And that is really the curse of being a musician. You don't have a choice, okay? Lastly, never give up, unless maybe you should. If this isn't your calling, or if somewhere along the line you just had sick feelings in the pit of your stomach listening to this, maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you should do something else. Maybe you should look for another dream that you know you couldn't live without doing it. Maybe it should be writing books. Maybe it's playing a sport. Maybe it's becoming a teacher. Maybe it's becoming a counselor. Who knows what it is? I don't know what it is. But if these things, if there weren't things that resonated with you and didn't ring true with you in any of this entire talk, this might not be for you. But if it is for you, I'm going to challenge you to never give up. Just never give up. Just make sure that what you're striving for aligns with reality. And the reasons that you're doing this are because you can't not do it. You have to do it. You have to. That was a weird sentence. You have to do it. You have to do it. Okay? So don't ever give up. Stick with me. I'm going to teach you how to do so many of these things in the year and the years to come that we together can get there. Okay? I'm not giving up on you. Don't give up on yourself, but please align your expectations with reality. Thanks, guys. Hey, I hope this was helpful for you. If it was, like it, share it, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and leave me comments. Look, if this becomes a big argument, I get it, okay? If you're mad at me, I get it. I'll entertain those arguments, but I'm not going to fight with you. The truth is the truth, whether we have an opinion about it or not. Facts are facts, whatever our opinion is. And the truth just is the truth. It's an is thing, okay? So we can argue, we can build each other up, we can criticize each other constructively, and I hope that we do that. Criticize me, but don't criticize me without giving me an answer to the criticism. That's one thing I want to let you know. If I'm going to tell you this sucks, I'm going to say, so here's what you do to fix it, okay? And if you're going to do that with me, don't criticize me unless you're going to say, have you thought about doing fill in the blank, okay? All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.